With his fate now in the hands of the jury, all George Zimmerman can do is watch and wait.
Your duty is to determine if George Zimmerman has been proven guilty or not in accord with the law.
And the trending topic has been the Zimmerman verdict. Your tweets and posts just ahead.
We've had conversations with Russian officials at a variety of high levels.
Edward Snowden is finally coming out of hiding, and he's looking for a brand new home, right where he's been all along, in Russia. You're just in time. It's your source for in-depth news and discussion. Bounce News at 7 starts right now.
You're watching Bounce TV News at 7.
Testimony's over. The evidence has been presented and things have wrapped up. The jury is out. All that's left to do is time for a verdict. Good evening. I'm Rahman Johnson, and you are inside of Bounce. It's Bounce News at 7. Now, what we're understanding is the jury is out. They've been deliberating for several hours now. That's the essence of this entire timeline. People are trying to figure out whether it's murder or self-defense. And in closing arguments, that's exactly what attorneys worked to hammer home.
Do we think he might have acted in self-defense? Not convinced. I have some doubt, have some concern that he just may have acted in self-defense. And if you reach that conclusion, you get to stop. You really do. Why? Because self-defense is a defense to everything. To littering, to speeding, to battery, if it mattered, to grand theft, to assault, to manslaughter, to second degree.
Now, in the rebuttal, the state made its argument for why George Zimmerman's idea of self-defense is indefensible.
This case is not about standing your ground. It's about staying in your car like he was taught to do, like he was supposed to do. And he can't now cloak himself with the noble cause of a neighborhood watch coordinator, violate its cornerstone principle, and expect you to absolve him of his guilt.
And with that, both sides had concluded their statements, and it was time to place George Zimmerman's fate in the hands of the jury.
Your duty is to determine if George Zimmerman has been proven guilty or not in accord with the law.
And that brings us up to right now, with the eyes of the nation watching Sanford and the courthouse and waiting for a decision. And joining us tonight is Kwame Thompson. He has a legal perspective. Kwame, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Rahman.
And of course, I know you've been watching this case like we all have. And the main question is, how long do you think jurors are going to take to come back with a verdict one way or the other?
Well, Rahman, it's really hard to tell. Juries have really deliberated in cases like this from 4 hours all the way up until 20 days. So no one really knows how long it's going to take. Now, one thing that is different in this courtroom, we have 6 jurors as opposed to the normal juror number of 12 that we usually see in other jurisdictions. And
Kwame, explain that. Why is it that in this case there's 6 jurors instead of the regular 12?
Well, in this jurisdiction, a jury of 6 is allowable. And I have also had jury panels where there's been 6 jurors. Now, some may argue that you may have a deliberation that may take a less amount of time because of that.
Now, does that matter? Do you think that it is a disservice to have less jurors on a jury panel?
No, not at all. The law allows in these types of cases to have 6 jurors, and I think that the 6 jurors will still uphold the law.
Now, of course, you know, the million-dollar question, which I'm going to wait to ask you at the end. I'm going to tell you now, I want to know what you think the outcome of the case is going to be. But I talked to a friend of yours who is part of the legal team for the Trayvon Martin family, and Natalie Jackson. And Natalie and I talked the other night, and she said she was horrified by some of the things that the defense presented to try to incriminate Trayvon Martin. How do you feel about the way the defense presented its case?
I believe that one of the defense attack of his friend, Mrs. Rachel Jean Tell, I think was very disrespectful. And I don't think that the judge should have allowed the fact that Trayvon Martin had marijuana in his body, because it was such a minute amount that all of the professionals have stated that it would not have affected his mindset. With that said, I believe that the defense is going to have a hard burden to prove, well, actually to disprove, because the burden, of course, is on the prosecution. But Zimmerman is claiming self-defense, and there are no eyewitnesses, and Zimmerman did not take the stand in his own defense.
Let me ask you this. It's the million-dollar question. I know we'll be going in on the show. You usually join me online for conversation, so please do that after the show. But the question is, Kwame, who'll win it? Prosecution or defense? What's the charge going to be, and who's going to win?
From day one, I have paid attention closely to this case, and at some point, things have flipped back and forth, but I believe that the prosecution has met their burden of proof. And the jurors should come back, in your estimation? I believe that we'll see an answer within 15 hours. 15 hours. We'll look forward to it, and we'll look for your conversation online. Thank you so much, Kwame. Thank you. Again, our friend and legal analyst Kwame Thompson joining us from Atlanta.